Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com with your post-game analysis from the Army Notre Dame game at Yankee Stadium. Notre Dame wins in dominating fashion, 49 to 14. Army did put a touchdown in late to get to double digits at least, probably against a lot of Notre Dame's backups. Can't say that for sure, but I'm pretty confident that was Notre Dame's second team defense. But showed that Army fought, didn't give up. Let's go through it right from the get-go. It was clear Notre Dame's athleticism was next level. It was unlike anything we've seen in the American Athletic Conference. First touchdown drive, Notre Dame, bing, bang, boom, right down the field. They've got third and goal because once again, Army's goal line defense played pretty well as they had been most of the season. And they run a little swing flat pass to Jeremiah Love, their superstar running back, who just gashed Army all night. Gashed Navy too, though, right? So the kid's really, really talented. And Donovan Platt goes up to make the tackle. On like the 1 yard line. I'm confident had it been another team from the American Athletic Conference, Donovan makes the tackle and they got fourth and goal from the one. However, Love hurdles Platt like got about 4 or 5 feet in the air. It was a pretty impressive vertical, and he scores. So 7-0. Army gets the ball back. Their second three and out. Not only did they not score in their first drive of the game, first time all season, three and out. Another three and out, second drive of the season, or second drive of the game. Notre Dame did win the toss and chose to defer like Army usually does. And on the punt, James Wagonseller bobbled the punt snap a little bit, which caused a block. Monken said it's the first time they've had a kick blocked in 7 years. He was really embarrassed about that. So then Notre Dame has the ball first and goal from the 7. That was actually where that touchdown, first touchdown was a post corner out for a touchdown. The second touchdown was the Jeremiah Love hurdle. So Army got in a 14-0 hole early, and it was evident that they were going to be in trouble. Obviously, Army doesn't play well from behind. Army then strung together a really nice 12-play drive for a touchdown. Bryson Daly capped it off with yet another touchdown run to make it 14-7. Notre Dame aided that drive with a number of penalties. In the post-game press conference, their players and Coach Freeman both said they knew they had to clean up the penalties, couldn't give away freebies to a team like Army. Then Notre Dame comes down, they're about to score. Army stops them on the 1 yard line with goal line stand. So Army's goal line defense, once again, even against superior athleticism, played really tough and really strong and held it, hung in there. And so it's 14-7. Army gets the ball back at their 1. They really need to put together a good drive here towards the end of the first half. Maybe not even come away with points, but put together a good drive to keep the game close, knowing that Notre Dame's going to get the ball in the second half. And they go three and out, unfortunately. Notre Dame goes right back down and scores. And then Notre Dame just started gashing Army with big runs. Army's run defense tonight, not too stellar. Notre Dame had 9.3 yards carry. If we go through some of the team stats, which I will, Notre Dame, 462 total yards, 189 passing, 273 rushing. Army had their worst rushing performance of the season, I believe, with 207 yards. Bryson Daly still came away with 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. So still a strong game from Bryson. He's a really tough kid. He was just getting blasted all night long. I think he had 39 carries again, if I'm not mistaken. Just super, super tough. He was 4 for 8 through the air. They really struggled to run and throw the ball. Notre Dame is not only extremely talented, but they're extremely well coached, especially against Army's style of offense. I said to people before this game that this game could be a matchup problem for Army. I think there's other top 10 teams Army matches up against better and could play closer. Notre Dame's not one of them. Notre Dame's fundamentally sound. They know how to stop the option. Their coordinators are outstanding. Their head coach is outstanding. They're not just a talented team, they're a really well coached team. And that showed up all night. Offensively and defensively. First time all season, Army got stopped short on a number of fourth and shorts, which never happens, right? There's some criticism. Oh, Army should have tried the perimeter more. Every time they went to the perimeter, Notre Dame had 3 guys going to pitch three guys going to quarterbacks. Just like Monken said, Coach Monken said, we couldn't really sustain blocks or get off of blocks defensively, the two most basic things you have to do. And Army couldn't do either of those. Certainly wasn't for a lack of effort. The kids really played tough. I think the difference between this year's game and last year's LSU game, besides the fact that our offense is a little better this year, is that I feel like the Army kids never gave up and they played extremely tough throughout the contest. Even though they got beat by 5 touchdowns, um, clearly a dominant performance for Notre Dame. Uh, and it was a case of one team being more athletic than the other. It wasn't play calling, it wasn't scheme, it wasn't any of that stuff. Notre Dame was just the better team tonight, plain and simple. So with that being said, and it being that obvious, now remember Notre Dame beat Navy 51-14. They beat Army 49-14. So very similar scores there, right? I think both teams are probably pretty similar and pretty close, to be honest with you. So where does Army go from here? Had a really good conversation with Coach Monk in the post-game press conference, as well as Bryson Daly and Andon Thomas. By the way, Andon Thomas, if there is a defensive MVP for Army, wins defensive MVP. I think he led the team in tackles. I didn't get an end-of-game stat sheet, but he was in on almost every play, it seemed like. Definitely Army's most athletic kid defensively. And obviously, Bryson had a great game. He did fumble once, did put the ball on the ground once, so he's got to get that cleaned up. But other than that, just a great game for him in terms of, just hanging in there and being tough when things weren't going his way. He only averaged 3.5 yards a carry against a really, really talented Notre Dame defense. So, Coach Monken, I've met with him in a lot of press conferences. He didn't seem despondent at all. I think he's happy with the team, the way his team played and fought, and he knows Notre Dame is just sometimes you just go up against a better team. It is what it is. I said that after the LSU game last year. Only difference was that game was just an epic disaster. This game I didn't feel like was an epic disaster, despite the fact that Army lost by 35 points. Um, Notre Dame was just better. And if you look at what happened today in the top 10, I'm not going to go into it. At top 20, a bunch of teams lost their second game. Ole Miss and Alabama both lose. Notre Dame is sitting really pretty going into the college football playoff. And if they keep playing the way they're playing, they have as good a shot at winning the national championship as anybody. I'm going to be honest with you. Oregon and Ohio State, they're good. There's no dominant team out there. And I absolutely believe Notre Dame has a shot at winning the national title. So, with that being said, where does this leave Army, right? We can stop all the crazy talk about the playoff. It was fun. The hype train was fun when it lasted. Army is clearly not that caliber of football team. Okay, fair enough. Top 25. Probably not there. So they're playing a really hot UTSA team next week, who's coming off a 51-27 win over Temple. UTSA now has won a number of games in a row. I don't know how many, but they've been scoring 40 and 50 points every week. UTSA, as I look into the American standings here, is 6-5 on the season now, 4-3 in conference. And they look really, really good. They got a great offense. Jeff Traylor knows us well. Of course, they played us 4 times over the last 5 seasons. Army is 3-1, but in Yankee Stadium, surprisingly enough, Army is 0-1 in overtime in the 2022 season. Lost to UTSA. So it's going to be a challenge. And Army is beat up. We saw Max DiDomenico leave the game with a knee, come back in. Cody Harris Miller had a knee. Kyle Lewis missed the game with, I believe, a knee. So there's some injuries for sure. And after a game like this, it takes a physical pounding on Army for sure. And going into UTSA, that could be a challenge. So, the key is don't let Notre Dame beat you twice, right? Notre Dame pounded Navy. The next week, Navy goes out and gets beat by Rice, who's not a good football team, by the way. I think UTSA is much better than Rice, if you want my honest opinion. We can't let Notre Dame beat us twice, right? Got to come out, have a strong showing against UTSA. That being said, I think the UTSA game really decreases in importance now. I think after tonight's showing, Tulane will jump Army in the college football playoff rankings. And Tulane, that which would mean if we both win next week, Tulane and Army, Tulane hosts the conference championship. The only way Army hosts the conference championship, I think, at this point, is if they beat UTSA next week and Memphis upsets Tulane, which I don't see happening. So we will probably be playing the conference championship in New Orleans. That's still on the table for Army. They can still win the conference, still go 11-1 after that game. Even if they lose to UTSA, like I said, UTSA becomes a lot less important now, to be honest with you. Um, and then the Navy game, of course, which is going to be huge. It's going to be a dogfight, as it always is. And that's still on the table, along with the Commander in Chief's trophy. And then Army has a bowl game. So Army can still have a phenomenal historic season. They can still go 13-1, win the American Athletic Conference and the Commander in Chief's trophy. Um, or they could conceivably lose all those games, but we'll have to see what happens. Every game they have is tough coming up, but the demeanor and attitude that I saw from Bryson Daly, Andon Thomas, and Coach Munkin tonight, they weren't defeated. I think they still believe in themselves, and I think they can turn this around and still end the season on a high note. So we're going to talk a lot about, excuse me, the UTSA game coming up, and we'll go from there. So, from Midtown Manhattan, this has been Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com. By the way, I want to say the Yankee Stadium experience was phenomenal. My first time in the new Yankee Stadium, really enjoyed it. Great press facilities, beautiful stadium. Awesome. For those of you who follow me on social, I'll have some pictures up on my social media. Got to go in the Yankees media room, which not a lot of people can say, so that's pretty cool. So we'll have some good stuff up on social, and we'll be ready and in our regular swing for the UTSA game next Saturday after Thanksgiving. Kind of a strange game for Army. The Corps Cadets will be home on Thanksgiving leave. So, you know, kind of a lot of things kind of working against Army in that one. So they're going to have to bring their A game to win for sure. We'll get into that more as the week progresses. Again, final Notre Dame 49, Army 14. Go Army, beat Navy.